Welcome to Rich Conversations. Today we'll chat with Meztli Mijes. We met up at one of my favorite places in the city, the Chicago Athletic Association, and it was really interesting to get her perspective as she's a Wicker Park native, and that whole area has gone through so much change over the years. We had a really nice conversation, so let's begin. All right, so we're here with Meztli. How long have you lived in Chicago?
I've lived in Chicago most of my life. I grew up in Wicker Park, and then there was a lot of changes happening in Wicker Park when I was younger. The neighborhood was changing, with gentrification, and obviously Wicker Park looks so much different than what it used to look like back then when my dad and uncles and aunt grew up there. So when gentrification was happening in Wicker Park, my parents luckily were already planning on buying a house. We moved out to the suburbs, and then when it came time for college, I wanted to come back into the city, and so I've been living back here since I was 18.
What was Wicker Park like when you were younger?
Wicker Park was very different. It was a lot of Hispanic families, mostly Mexican families, so it was more of a family feel. There wasn't a lot of single people living in apartments alone. It was, a lot of my neighbors had children. I would play with the neighbors. A lot of the stores were owned by Latinos. There was grocery stores, hair salons, furniture stores, bakeries, all owned by Latinos. But it started changing, and eventually my family moved out of that neighborhood.
What neighborhood are you in now?
I live in Logan Square / Avondale area, a little bit closer up to Avondale. So it's actually, sometimes it reminds me a little bit of how things used to be, because my neighborhood does have a lot of Hispanic families still. But of course, the further I go south into Logan Square, then it reminds me of Wicker Park and how it's changed again, because now it's a lot of the young people,
Sure.
A lot of the hipster bars and shops and things like that. So, but I still like the Avondale area. I see, people that look like me. I like saying hi to them, speaking to them in Spanish, good morning, good evening, things like that. So I like the nice family feel that it has still.
So if you have an open Saturday, how would you choose to spend it?
I like to clean my apartment.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
I like to wake up at a decent hour, not too late, and just put on my salsa or merengue or just any kind of music, really, just what I'm feeling, and clean my apartment. Just a super deep clean, dust everything, mop, broom, sweep. And just pretty much that brings me some calm, and it makes me feel okay, I can have fun now. And usually after that I'll take a bath. I love baths, so I'll take a long bath. I'll do a little self-care routine with a hair mask or a face mask, and once all that's done, then I like to go out with my friends or go out to suburbs and visit my family.
That's cool.
Yeah.
When you go out with your friends, where are you going to go?
It really depends on what mood we're in. I would say the neighborhoods that we frequent are Pilsen, Wicker Park, and Logan Square. So in Wicker Park, we go to Nick's Beer Garden a lot. In Pilsen, we'll go to Punch House. Let's see. In Logan Square, well, we used to go dancing in East Room, but I think that's closing actually. And we like to go to Deadbolt. Deadbolt is a lot of fun. Yeah, because they played a lot of hip hop there, so we like that place.
I think I've been there once, and you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's a really good time.
When you think of Chicago, what colors come to your mind first?
See, I really like this question because I was actually just telling my roommate that I see memories in colors. So when I think of Chicago, I see a lot of green, and I see a lot of light gray. So I think that's because, like I said, I grew up, like when I was younger, I grew up in Wicker Park and like literally right in front of the park, pretty much. And so I was at the park all the time, like after school, playing with my little brother. So I remember being around the trees and the grass a lot. But I also think of light gray because I think of concrete, I think of downtown, big sidewalks, think of commuting to work. So I think all that light gray gets, mixed in there. And then of course, like, I would think of light blue and red because of the flag.
Yeah.
Of course, that reminds me of Chicago too.
Does the light gray ever remind you of the weather?
Yes, that too.
Yeah.
I think I like the rain a lot. So I think when it's rainy and it's just kind of gray outside and the pavement is wet and the clouds are just like a light gray, I think that also reminds me of Chicago.
What's your proudest moment as a Chicagoan?
I feel like my proudest moments have always been when like our teams win, our sports teams win, like the Blackhawks, the Cubs. That time when any of our sports teams win is really exciting. It just gives you this like huge Chicago pride. But also, I would say anytime that I'm not in Chicago and people ask me where I'm from, I'm just like, I'm from Chicago. That's like a proud Chicago moment for me. Yeah, I'm from Chicago.
Are you a Cubs fan or a Sox fan?
I'm a bad Chicagoan because I can't say either or. Like I like both. And I know that's so crazy because if you live in Chicago, you have to pick sides. But I mean, I do enjoy going to Sox games and Cubs games. I don't know. It's hard.
If a friend were to visit you from out of town, what restaurant would you take them to?
I don't think I'm very creative in that aspect because I feel like I would pretty much take them to like the Chicago staples, like Portillo's, Giordano's. Also, if you come to Chicago, there's a lot of Mexicans in Chicago, so you got to take them to have some Mexican food. I mean, I like going to Lazos Tacos a lot. I like that taco place.
Where's that at?
It's on Armitage and Western, I believe. Yeah. Like, by Margie's Candies.
Yeah.
And I guess I would take them to Margie's Candies, too, because that's also like a Chicago spot. So, yeah, just kind of like those staples.
Do you have a favorite pizza in Chicago?
I don't have a favorite pizza, but I am big on Giordano's. Oh, wait, no. I kind of have a favorite. Of course, I like Giordano's Illuminati's, but I also really like Father and Sons. And I was freaking out this summer because they announced that they were going to close, or maybe it was this fall. They announced that they were going to close, and I was so upset because I love their pizza, and I had just moved close to it. So it's like, it's down the street from me, kind of. So I was really upset, but luckily they are not going to close. They're just going to have a smaller space and just kind of shrink their menu a bit. So that was a relief. But I do love Father and Sons.
Father and Sons, is that when you like ride the Brown line between Armitage and Sedgwick, is that where it is, or is it somewhere else?
I think there may be, there is two, but I don't go to the other one. I'm not really on the Brown line a lot. I'm referring to the one that's on Milwaukee. It's on Milwaukee and I don't know what the other street is. But they're building like a Target by there. I don't remember. I don't know the street.
Okay. They're building a Target over there?
Yeah, because I think it's across the street from a new apartment complex. And at the bottom of the apartment complex, like on the ground floor, they're building a Target. Again, all the changes in Logan Square.
Yeah. What's your hidden gem in the city?
My hidden gem in the city would be Margie's Candies. I like the feel in there because it just kind of, it takes me back to being a kid. I mean, I remember my grandmother taking me there a lot. I mean, you just overload on sugar and it's just like a lot of good feelings. And I think it's fun for adults to sometimes feel like a kid because it has that diner feel also, and just kind of dig in on tons of ice cream. So,
is it true or not that the Beatles sat there when they played in Chicago in like '64?
Wow, I don't know.
I thought there was like a booth that they sat in and there were like photos right above it.
You know what? I don't know. I mean, maybe I've just never sat in that booth. I have no idea.
Yeah. Because if you had, you would be able to feel the aura of
Of the Beatles. Yeah. Now it makes me want to go there and look around.
Yeah, for sure. What sound do you most affiliate with Chicago?
The sound that reminds me the most of Chicago, to be honest, is the CTA sounds, like the and then like the voice of the announcer that says the streets or the stops. Yeah, that reminds me the most about Chicago. Also because I like that they have like a nice voice. Like it's an actual human being and they have like a clear, soothing voice. I don't know, I like it. That and no, just the CTA sounds, I guess.
What music has influenced you the most during your time in the city?
I mean, since it's been most of my life, quite a variety of music. But I mean, when I think of Chicago, of course, I think of Kanye West. I love Kanye, and I mean, of course, he's from Chicago and has huge Chicago pride. Pretty much like hip hop and rap reminds me a lot about Chicago. And it's also some of my favorite genres.
What's your favorite Kanye record? Album?
I would say it's kind of hard. I would say my Dark Twisted Fantasy. I think it's
That's mine too.
Really?
Yeah.
It's really good. I don't know. It's different. Yeah.
There's this podcast called Dissect, and so this guy basically breaks down like one album per season, and he breaks down Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and like the first 3 episodes are like the background of Kanye and how like he like kind of started like chipmunk rap where he would like speed up the vocals, and so then the like Taylor Swift thing happened, and then going into this album he was in the mindset that if he doesn't create like the greatest album he's ever done, then he's a failure. And he thought like he would like that'd be it. So everything he did into this was like a serious like work of art. And he breaks down like notes and like why he played this note on the piano because it evokes this emotion and not that emotion, and like just breaks it down.
That's incredible.
Bit by bit.
I definitely want to listen to that. What's it called? Dissect?
Dissect, yeah.
Okay.
It's really good. Yeah.
No, I'm definitely going to listen to that.
Yeah. What's a common scene you see in your everyday life in Chicago?
Well, a common scene for me, I would say, is the Chicago River. I have to cross it every morning to go to work. But I like that it's on my way to work because one, it's very pretty as I cross the river. I mean both views looking north and south. So I'm walking along the bridge of State Street. You know, both views looking north and south are very pretty. And it also, because there's a lot of tourists there, I run into a lot of them, and they're taking pictures of the view, and it reminds me to like look at the view. So I kind of like it. And
cool.
Also it's like nice because when it's like the weather's nice, I get to go down by the river and have my lunch there. So yeah, it's a pretty sight.
If you were given secret information that Chicago would be destroyed in 1 week, what one quality would you choose to keep to rebuild the city?
This question's really easy because I think a defining characteristic about Chicago is its grit. I feel, the city of big shoulders, broad shoulders. You know, Chicago, like most cities in America, were built by immigrants. And so, you know, a lot of people that came here with nothing and built their life into something, that built these buildings, built everything. So I feel like if Chicago was destroyed one day, you know, our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors built this city, we can do it again.
I like that. What's one small thing you would do to improve your neighborhood or the city as a whole?
I definitely believe that Chicagoans should be they should really be much more nicer. Because I don't think very friendly at times. For example, this morning, I literally fell going up the escalator, and it wasn't just like a regular fall. Like, I actually really hurt myself, and it wasn't like that fall where you just like get up and you like dust it off and you walk. No, I was limping and I had to find a seat because I could not walk.
Really?
And it wasn't like people were far away from me. I'm literally shoulder to shoulder with people because I was passing them. No one stopped to ask me if I was okay, to help me up, and then when I sat down, there was a lady across from me, and she was looking at me because it was clear I was in pain. And then I just kind of I said, "Oh, I fell going up the escalator." And she just kind of giggled. And I'm like, "Bitch, that's not funny." I didn't say that to her, but bitch, that's not funny. Yeah, so I feel like we can be a lot more kinder to each other, to one another. That was a very nice...
Kindness.
Yeah, kindness.
So what are some things people can do to be more kind in the city?
I've also seen examples of people, like strangers, talking to one another.
What a concept.
I know, it is crazy. It's crazy. For example, I was walking to work, and this woman, I was walking behind these people, and a woman was walking next to a man, and she said, "Excuse me, could I get a high five?" And he was like, "Sure." And then they high-fived, and she was like, "Thanks, have a great day." And I loved that I saw that, because I think just the day before I was listening to a podcast about how to make friends or like how to be nicer to one another maybe. And that was an example, like just ask someone a random question on the street, Of course, I could see the downside to that. Some people don't want to be bothered. Some people are having a bad day, and I've definitely been there where I don't want anyone to talk to me, but I thought it was a nice gesture. This woman was reaching out, just wished someone a good day. And it was something cute to witness.
Yeah. When people learn you're from Chicago, how do they respond, and what's your reaction?
I think people are interested when I tell them I'm from Chicago. When I was in New York a couple weeks ago, I met a woman from Germany, and this was her first time coming to America, and New York was the first place. But when I told her I was from Chicago and told her more about the city, she was like, "Yes, I've heard so much about Chicago. I really want to go there." I think Chicago's a really interesting city, and sometimes I think about what I look for in a place when I choose a destination to travel to. And so I think about it the other way, like what do tourists see in Chicago that makes them want to come here? And I think it's just we have a little bit of everything. And so I think that's what makes Chicago so interesting, and why people are really curious when I tell them I'm from Chicago.
What do you think the main draw is for tourists here?
Well, it depends. I think for people that aren't really from a city, I think it's the big buildings, the skyline.
Yeah.
For example, I have a friend that's from Cambridge, and when I was showing them around the city, they were just staring at all of the buildings, and I forget sometimes that this isn't a normal thing. Or a couple years ago when I had family from Mexico here, everyone was looking at the buildings, and yeah, I think the architecture here is beautiful, and I think that's something that Chicagoans easily take for granted.
Yeah, that's certainly true. I sometimes, actually I'll be downstairs at the fairgrounds area, and I'll just sit outside and just people watch for 2 hours, or I'll go to the Bean.
Uh-huh.
And I used to not be this way. It used to be oh, I'm gonna stay away from tourists. But to see people from all over the world and hear all different languages, and they're all in the same spot, and they're all happy and smiling, and they're taking photos, it makes me proud and think oh, people come from all over the world to visit the city. I live it every single day.
Exactly. No, that, like I said, when the tourists take pictures of the view off of, from the river, it reminds me to appreciate that view, because you're right. People come from all over. And I pass by this every day. And sometimes I don't look at it, but yeah, we take it for granted sometimes.
When you feel stressed out or overwhelmed, but you can't leave the city, where do you go to clear your mind?
I definitely love to go to Wicker Park, like the park. Well, of course, like I said, it just reminds me of my childhood, brings me peace. I love nature. I mean, I live in Chicago, so it's a big city, but we have some really pretty parks. So I like going there. I also like gardening, and so, in the springtime, summertime, they have nice gardens. I like to sit by the fountain. It both like reminds me of my childhood, but then also because of all the changes, not only in the neighborhood but of my life, since I was a child. I don't know. It's fun.
Has the park changed much since you were a kid?
The playground has, because I remember playing there a lot. The fountain, no, because when I was still there, they had just changed the fountain or put in the fountain. I can't remember. So I remember the fountain being the same. But aside from that, no, not too much. Just this summer, I was there with my roommate's dog, and we were just tanning, just reading a book. He was just laying with me, and I took a selfie with him, and I posted it on Instagram, and my uncle responded to it, and he was like, "Oh, that's so funny, like me, your dad, and your uncles, we would play football there and blow up firecrackers." And that same exact spot where you're at. And so I thought, that's a really cool thing that, this park brings back memories for my family.
Yeah, and while everything else has kind of changed around it, perhaps, you still have like generations that experience something on that particular piece of land there, right?
No, that is really nice. And the building that I lived in, the last building I lived in, one of the buildings that I lived in when I was there, I think it's on North Avenue. It's no longer there, but the building that my grandmother lived in is still there, and it has changed. I think it was like a Hawaiian restaurant before, and now it's a new kind of restaurant. But when it was a Hawaiian restaurant, I went and I dined there, and I wanted to sit upstairs because that was my grandma's house. And so it was so weird to see all these strangers in my grandma's house.
Yeah.
I think it made me a little angry because I'm like, you're not supposed to be here. But it was nice to still have that building. And even though my grandmother lives somewhere else, has her own house, it was still nice to still have that building and go back to where I, built so many memories.
Yeah.
And actually, the building next door to that, my grandmother owned a restaurant there. And
really?
It's no longer, it's a different kind of restaurant now.
Okay.
But yeah, she owned a Mexican restaurant. And so I like that the buildings still exist. And I could still pass by them. And when I'm passing by with my friends, I could tell them, that used to be my grandmother's restaurant. That used to be my grandmother's house. So I like that I can still visit them or visit those places.
What's something you're curious about recently?
Something I'm curious about is dirt.
Dirt?
Dirt, yeah. So I recently got into gardening and plants, and this past summer I took a sustainable urban gardening class. And there's just so much to learn about dirt and how, the nutrients they provide to plants and things like that. So yeah, I think this next summer I'm going to try to find a class specifically about dirt.
Did you say you went to one already?
So it's one of the classes was on dirt, but I want a full class that's only about dirt. Or maybe I don't know, maybe I'll find a book or something, but
nice.
I want to learn more about dirt.
Do you know?
Or soil. Maybe I shouldn't call it dirt. Soil.
The scientific term.
Yeah.
So what's the best kind of soil? It all depends on the plant, right?
Yeah, it depends on the plant and what it needs. Yeah, I don't know. In the class, they talked about like, I don't even want to go into it because I'm going to say the wrong thing, but it was quite interesting to find that, fruits need this stuff in the soil, and houseplants need other types of things in the soil. And also this summer, I tried vermicomposting, so worm composting. So I bought worms and I threw all my like vegetable scraps in there, and they lived in the dirt, and then they consumed the scraps, and then they digested it, and then I took pretty much their poop and put it back into my plants, and that was incredible that I can mix this with soil, and it's just it was like my plants were on steroids.
Really? So you noticed a difference?
Oh,
in its growth?
definitely, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dirt.
Soil.
Soil. Within the past 5 years of living here, what personal realization has improved your outlook on life the most?
So I think a personal realization of mine is that you can't be perfect. I think from when I was a child and growing up, I always try to do my best. And life is hard, and you don't always accomplish everything that you want to, or you find it much harder to reach. So I think that has taught me that life isn't just about professional accomplishment or social status, or not about material things. I think through the experiences in my life, I learned more about, living in the moment, and, spending time with family and friends is so important. Sometimes you don't always have to, carve 3 hours, 4 hours out of your Friday night or whatever to visit a friend. Sometimes you could just send them a text, and just being more connected and reaching out to people.
Do you think that's something that we lack, is reaching out?
I think so. I really think so, because like I said before, I felt like I always had to either make big plans. I had to go out. My friends and I had to go out in order to see each other. But no, as we've gotten older, for example, just the other week, I texted some of them and I was like, hey, I miss you guys. Do you guys want to come over for drinks and snacks? And so, they came over. I made everyone Manhattans, and I had a charcuterie plate, and we just had really great conversations, and it was really great to see them again and catch up, and maybe in a couple weeks I'll see them again. But it doesn't have to be hard to reach out to people, or even my grandmother. Sometimes just sending a text saying, hey, thinking about you, or to my mom, hey, I miss you. That can make someone's day, and even that small text is the teeniest bit of connection to somebody, and that makes me happy.
Why don't you think more people reach out?
I think people get wrapped up into their lives and their plans. I mean, everyone, the biggest excuse that people say is I'm too busy. And I found that I hate that. I hate when people say I'm really busy. Even though I feel like I'm also very busy, but we make time for the people that matter. As I've gotten older, I realize, yes, my life is a lot more busier. Figure it out. I got a planner,
I've got a planner.
I've got a planner. I make lists. I make so many lists. So, yes, everyone is busy, but you have to get out of your head a little bit, make time for the people that matter.
So I have one last question.
No.
What's something you're excited about or dream of doing in the future?
Okay. Well, in May I'll be graduating, so I'll be receiving my master's in healthcare administration. So obviously that's something I'm really looking forward to, and I think building my career, getting into that space, it's something exciting but also scary because I don't know exactly what area I want to get into, but pretty much I want to build a solid career in the next 5 years. And I think that being in a master's program obviously is incredibly difficult, and you lose yourself a little bit. You like I said, you don't feel like you have time for friends and family. So now that soon that I'll be done with school, I want to do more things that I love. Like I said, like in the summer when I took that gardening class, like that was something that I wanted to do. Now that school has slowed down, I'm reading more books that I enjoy, not just textbooks that I have to read. So in the next 5 years, I plan on building my career and also just doing things that make me happy, and remembering or finding out what are those things that make me happy.
I like that. That's good. Well, thanks for sitting down with me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Rich Conversations. I hope your 2020 is off to a spectacular start.